welcome to another episode of Random Access Memory Stories That Bite. Today I have the CISO of Upwind, Rinki, who has held pretty much every CISO role from a company that you've heard of, as well as her own VC and having more LinkedIn followers than people you probably know in some countries. So let's kick it right off. If I ask you first, Rinki, introduce yourself, tell us what you do, who you are, tell us your hobby, and tell us who your hero is, someone that inspires you.
Yeah, first of all, Jake, it's an honor to be here, and I'm glad we're finally doing this. I know this was in the works for a while. Yes, I'm Rinki. Nice to meet all of you. I born and raised in the Bay Area. I have two kids, 18-year-old girl, 14-year-old son. I've been in cyber for almost 25 years. Started at Pacific Gas and Electric, went to Walmart, eBay, Intuit, Palo Alto Network, short stint at IBM before I took on my first CISO job at Rubrik, my second one at Twitter, third one at Bill.com as CISO and CIO, and then just joined Upwind Security on my fourth CISO gig here. That's a little bit about me. And let's see, my favorite hobby outside of traveling is a grandma hobby. I love to crochet. So I do crochet.
I did not have you down for crocheting. Wow.
Yeah.
I like it. That's cool.
Yeah. So if you watch my Instagram, it's usually travel posts, something about cybersecurity, or my crocheted blankets.
So you have to get on the Christmas list to get a blanket then. Okay. I understand. Yeah. Life goals. What about your hero?
My hero, I would be my dad. I just, he's I've always been an inspiration and someone I continue to learn from, and has, I've seen him change. People say people can't change after a certain age, and I don't believe that's true because of him.
That is a really interesting thought. That people don't change. I actually just commented. Do you know Aisha Khan at Treasure Data?
Yes.
So she posted on LinkedIn today about doing something with one of her kids at middle school. But the whole point was that kids don't have fears. They just come up with an idea. They don't think of like the drawbacks or the possibility or the plausibility, right? And I think that as we age, we lose this ability to see like opportunity. And I think what you're finding is, right, so it's a choice. It's like we still have the ability to choose to change or to believe in the impossible at any age. We just have to kind of rewire our brains to be like the kids that we once were.
I love that.
I like that.
That's cool. That. I need to go read the post. I haven't been on LinkedIn this morning yet.
Yeah, well, that's a first for you. So I think I want to ask you a few subjects. So I think the first one was, look, your background, as you just mentioned, is pretty mad. So you've done Bill, Twitter, Rubrik. There's some Walmart in there, some eBay, IBM, Palo Alto, and now Upwind, which is one of the cyberstarts darlings. Like your background is, you worked at every company that everyone's heard of, effectively, right? Is there one in there, or is there two in there, specific roles where either the company or the situation or the role that you had taught you an astronomical amount? Is there a point there where you kind of accelerated? Like, is there certain places that were just amazing to be?
It's a really good question. I think it's like you learn something in every job, and it's and I feel like I'm constantly learning. The second I feel like I'm not, that's when I'm shifted. But I think the most pivotal one for me was when I was at Walmart.com. It was my second job out of college. I had worked at Pacific Gas and Electric before that. I was almost about to leave cyber. Because of the work I was doing and just the way that PG&E wasn't like the right culture for me. I had to self-learn everything I knew about cyber, but it was all textbook knowledge when I was there. And I went to Walmart.com. Not only did I find my passion in cybersecurity, but I had the most amazing mentor, Jake, that literally took me under his wings for who knows what reason and taught me everything technically about cyber. And I got to get hands-on and just work with him hand in hand. And he was kind of a legend in the cyberspace. And it changed my trajectory. It's what's kept me in cyber. But my passion that I found was I had a developer background. Like, I was a computer science engineering graduate, and working with developers back then, I'm talking 2 decades back now. This is at the start of PCI, when developers were forced to learn the OWASP top 10 as a requirement. And I remember thinking, like, this is not the way you train a developer. Being a developer myself, it's like, if you want to win hearts and minds, you've got to get into the head of developers. And that's my passion in cyber, is how do you drive culture change by really getting in the hearts and minds of folks. And that became my passion, and it's where I learned everything I know about cyber.
That's interesting. I've got a couple of things on that one. Mentoring. You mentioned a mentor. I've talked a lot on LinkedIn about people in my life who've been mentors and continue to be mentors to me, right? And I think Are the most pivotal moments in our lives nothing to do with the roles and the careers or the companies, but to do with the mentors who shape us more? Is it people that shape us more than opportunities do often?
I think so. Like, I feel like you go work for amazing leaders and you leave bad leaders. It's generally not, you can like find I find like different products and companies interesting. And I always advise when college new grads and people, like, you don't need to chase the company names just because they're amazing. Chase the right people, because if you're surrounded by the right type of folks that are invested in you and are going to create an environment where you can learn and make mistakes and grow, and um that's life changing for me. Like,
Mm.
it was amazing that I was at Walmart, but it was not that. It was like the team that I had around me that really grew me. And I've been at amazing titles where that's not necessarily the case, and it really holds you back, you know? And so I do think people, mentorship, community is what it's all about at the end of the day.
So, in a single sentence, what makes a good leader mentor versus a bad leader mentor? Like, what is the one thing? I mean, sure, there's loads, right? But what is the one thing that defines good versus bad?
I think a good leader mentor is somebody who wants to see growth in their people, and is not afraid of giving critical feedback, and in all with the intent of wanting to see that person do even better than them. I think on the flip side, it's folks that are like just not connected on the human side. It's all about just the work, and it's like, not, you're not invested in people, you're just managing, and that's not good leadership or mentorship.
You're speaking my language. I talk a lot. Some of my team listen to this, and I talk a lot about the fact that we build families, we don't build teams. And I've always said that like my greatest successes in life are the people who I've hired at like junior levels who are now CISOs and VPs. Like that will be when someone says they have to leave because they want my job effectively. That's like the greatest possible accomplishment. Uh, I think that's what leadership is, right? It's building people. It's not building processes and programs. The other thing you talked about was being technical and trying to like make culture shift. That's an interesting topic. So I come from a technical background too, but from a different one. I didn't build, I broke stuff. I came from a pen testing background. But I think now more than ever, it's super relevant to have a technical engineering understanding. I shared a post that you shared on LinkedIn last week, and this won't be relevant whenever this goes out. It won't be last week. But about how AI is exposing bad leaders who are unable to change. It's basically just making broken processes explode quicker. Right? And I think that speaks to people who the engineering mindset is outcome focused, whereas I think the compliance kind of traditional consulting background is like process focused front forwards, whereas engineering is backwards or end backwards. I don't know if you agree on that or what you think. Like, I think now it's a time where any CISO, particularly in tech companies in SaaS, needs to have a real competence in engineering to be able to move that culture, because otherwise the R&D team just don't give a damn what you say.
I think you're right. And I think I talk about this, like, you know, for a long time, we're like, as leaders, you don't want to be too hands-on the tech, and because you kind of forest versus trees and all that stuff. I actually think we're at a really interesting time where becoming a builder is going to be really important to be able to lead. And I've been saying this again and again. Why? Because like the world's changing around us at a pace that we've never seen before, and how you can leverage AI and agents and to get to good outcomes is going to require a builder mindset. And how are you going to do that? You've got to kind of understand it and build yourself to understand what good looks like and bad looks like, and then be able to train your teams to go and like make that shift and that transition, which I think like CISOs are very well positioned right now to go drive the change in companies that's needed across the board around AI. And but if you're just telling your team like, oh, we're going to cut X% by going and leverage, it's just not the right way to do it. And people are going to find things to drive efficiency that are not going to move the needle and things like that. And so you can really like amplify dysfunction if you're not in that builder mindset.
The builder piece, I have mixed thoughts on this because people tell me that now is a time where you can build without any technical competency at all. Like agentic tech and AI means that now anyone can be a builder, right? I reserve my opinions after you speak, but like, what do you think about that? Is this a time now when non-technical people could suddenly leap forward in technical capabilities, or is it still required? Like, if you're going to debug AI and agents, do you still need to know what actually how the inner workings work? Like, where do you stand on the fact are technical evolutions or progress now available to everyone, or are we still really needing to have people with a technical solid like computer engineering or computer science background?
You can build, like, anybody can build. you're going to build really stupid things if you don't have a deep understanding of what, like you could go build things that already exist and feel like, oh my God, this is amazing because you don't know. And like, I still think like, look, the technical background helps you build the right things. It helps you
Mm,
ask the right questions. It helps you do it in the right ways and like securely and all of that stuff, considering the complexities, because you can build surface level things. And, it's funny because on the investor side too, people are asking like, how difficult is it really to build things? And you can build some stuff, but they're building like Jake, like coming from a technical background, right? Like we know how hard it is to build good things, and the complexities that go into it. And for that, I do think you need to have the technical background, or at least have like a product management mindset too, like to understand like the details and what goes behind this. To then, I guess, let me put it simply: you have to feed the system the right requirements still, and
yeah.
that still requires knowledge.
But that's more of a mindset than a like a nuts and bolts, right? That's coming back to my outcome focus. You have to know like if I want like Z to be the result or Z, like I need to do these things. These things are best built in this way using these components. You can leverage these technologies. This is how I'd whiteboard it because I think there's still a place in the world for whiteboards, even in AI. Like that doesn't speak though to need to like have a detailed coding experience. Like, do I still need to be able to actually write Python? Like, we know every time if you look at AI under the hood, it's just writing Python constantly, right? Like, do you still need a deep understanding of how that works, or is it enough to understand like the overall process flow? Are these product people more than they are engineering people?
I think it depends. Like, I don't think it's that black and white, and I don't think coders are going to go away. And I do think having a good knowledge around coding, although, before it was like, you still need to understand the code to debug what your AI has built and all that. I think AI is doing a pretty good job, we've seen, of fixing issues without
Yeah.
having like a human involved. So, I still believe in like, I still lean, even though I don't code today, Jake, like I still lean on my knowledge from that quite a
Yeah.
bit.
I'm the same. Like I said, I don't go hands on keys, but I can still look at concepts and say, if you're going to build that, you're going to need to do A, B, and C, or else it's not going to work, right? And I think that's the core bit, and it's foundation education that I don't know if we will lose over time. Now we're teaching kids probably at university and colleges to code using Claude Code, whatever else it might be, right? That are they actually losing the foundational understanding of how to like begin the bits? It's the same way as like we've now learned because we can translate automatically in an AirPod. Like, do we still learn the fundamentals of language, or do I just know that like if I hear these noises, this is what it means? So I think there's a whole generation. I think for the security world as CISOs, like I worry what our future is because I look at it and go, who's going to replace me? If SOC tier one is now automated and GRC tier one is now automated and like AppSec tier one is now automated and pen testing is being automated, like how is anyone going to learn the skill sets that we learned foundationally before we start to layer on top of them? Like, where is the next generation of CISOs? I don't. That's my biggest concern right now.
It's gonna be an interesting time. I feel like our roles are gonna change too, right? Like they already are. I mean, CISO role has changed. Like we were technical architects before, like kind of behind the scenes. Now it's a very forefront role. It's a very business role. It's a communications influence role. And then I think like there'll be a technical arm to it that's leading agents and tooling and things like that. But it's gonna shift quite a bit. And I don't know what our roles, I don't have the answer to that, but I do think about that a lot too. It's like part of the reason I like was like, okay, what is life after CISO, and who is going to take on our roles, and what is that going to look like?
Yeah, let's come to that. Let's start to journey that direction, right? So one side of me says you don't need to worry because hopefully Upwind will have a massive exit and you'll be banked for life, so it won't matter anyway, right? So let's talk about that one. So you went from doing traditional security roles inside of non-security vendors, primarily Rubrik is kind of in between, to going straight into like a security rocket ship, right? And one that's, am I right in assuming is probably quite high pressured? Specific VCs carry a lot of pressure with them. So tell me about that journey. Tell me about why you joined Upwind, what it's been like being this new kind of chief security, chief trust, whatever it looks like in that kind of new role. And yeah, how it's been, because that's you've been at big businesses, but probably not at the scale rate that this one has been.
Totally. It's so different. And that's what excited me about it. I mean, I've done the public company CISO job now several times. And it's it's a really interesting role. It's challenging and not in all the ways people would expect. But like, you're learning a lot of skills around presenting to the board, and there's a lot of maturity, regulation, compliance requirements, and you're juggling a lot. scaling and leading teams. And so I'd done the CISO CIO thing for 3 years at Bill, and I'm like sitting there thinking about what's next. I was actually going to take another public company CISO job, and I had this like weird feeling. I wasn't like super excited. I was almost like, I'm going to just go do the same thing again. But I was about to sign in because I was ready for my next change. And that's when Upwind, Amiram reached out and he's like, Rinki, what about helping us build at Upwind? And I'm like, you're a Series A company. Like, what am I going to come and do there? Like, you guys are tiny. And he's like, we're going to be raising our B, where we need to like strengthen our security and IT. And I just think you could bring the voice of the customer. So it's been super interesting. I was running marketing. I'm just helping them build out the company. And I'm like, this is how CISOs think. And like, this is how we need to shape the product, in addition to building out our IT and security capabilities and bringing that in as well. So it's a totally different role and I'm loving it. It's like literally working day in and day out with a founder, and there's a lot to learn coming from a big company on how do you like work in a small company. And it's a total change. Not to say that I may not go back someday to a bigger company or whatever, but it's like this is an amazing experience for me. And like, how do companies run at this stage, and how do you think about security and IT in this context? And then just being part of a business that's like hyper growth is amazing.
Yeah, I love the piece where like you pointed out like you do product and marketing stuff. That's one of the reasons I've spent now so long in vendors is I love the fact that my job is like basically all the jobs. Like I am the logic for marketing. I understand what the product should look like. Like I have a good guide on the go to market strategy. I think that's the exciting piece of working in vendors. Yeah, I think that's the exciting piece. How big is your team now?
My team, so I had a team of about like 40, what was it, 40 or 50 people when I had marketing as well. I've got like a handful of folks in cyber now and IT, and we're continuing to grow that globally as we start to strengthen capabilities internally. And obviously we're starting to look at different
Yeah.
compliance regimes like FedRAMP and so forth, which is really forcing us to think about architecturally how we start building the capabilities. But we've got a handful of folks in cyber right now in IT.
Are you looking at FedRAMP 20X?
Yes.
Yeah, we've just about to finish our FedRAMP 20X anecdotes. It's been one of the
Congrats.
most
I
interesting
can't
compliances I've
wait to
ever
see
had.
it.
It's the one time where like someone actually started talking about Python and JSON and like postman pools and stuff. Like in compliance, it's been different, but in a positive way. I'm a big fan of Pete Walton. I think he's trying to change things in a positive way, but he's just like, it's like, I always feel like, I don't know if you ever watched Yellowstone, the series. It's like trying to herd cattle. Like they just don't want to go that direction. They refuse to go the way you want to bring them. It takes like multiple cowboys. And I feel like there's just a whole load of people need to all join to eventually like move that giant federal muscle to understanding that it's actually better to be continuous and to be tech based than it is to be like in SharePoint and PDFs. But it's gonna take a while. Anyway, I digress. So, and you talked about kind of moving out of security before I took you into Upwind and that role. And that brings me to the last one. So one of the reasons I had you on, and like I'm pretty open about this. So I actually invested in Lockstep, which is obviously your VC. I gave you my kids' future money, right? Why did you do that? Like you have a crazy busy role. You've been through multiple companies. You are probably independently financially pretty sound at this point. Like why go and start a whole nother thing?
This was okay. I've been, I love working with founders. And that was the one good thing that came out of like joining even Pacific Gas and Electric. Like in my very first job out of college, the people I was surrounded by loved innovation, and they like would constantly put new vendors and like companies nobody else had heard of, and they talked to them. And I got exposed to that early on. And I'm like, I've loved it since then. Loved working with founders, giving the new guys a chance and all of that. That ended up changing into like advising founders and really getting deep with them on sometimes like how they go to market or their product, and how like we see it as customers. So I started advising. That then turned into like angel investing, which I had no idea honestly what I was doing when I was angel investing. I thought, oh yes, they're letting me put $5,000 in, amazing. And then Lucas Moody, who's now the CISO at Astera Labs, him and I were like doing this kind of on our own, and we were like, why don't we come together? We've known each other forever. We're doing this on our own. Would you like want to come together and do this together? We came together and we started putting our money together. We made like 30 or 40 angel investments into companies. We made some good bets. We were having a ton of fun doing it, but we're draining our bank accounts. And what would it take to start a fund? And we did all the research, and it felt like to me, if I was going to do something outside of being a CISO and a security practitioner, I'd still want to do cyber and I'd want to do it on this side. And so we started a VC firm. It's a tiny little firm just to see, like, can we get into the best of the best deals out there? And we proved it. And the best part of it has been the community. I really wanted to find ways to give back in meaningful ways. And I just felt like the way that VCs and vendors were taking from others, like I didn't get why we're not the VIPs in the ecosystem when we're making everyone else rich and we're fueling the whole ecosystem. And yet like we go to these things and it's vendor pitch after vendor pitch and steak dinner after steak dinner. And I'm like, this is not what we need to do for the practitioner. Like, how do we put them back in the center? And I wanted to start that community that was like separate from the VC, and like really give back, like, and show what it is to give back. And to me, I could see myself like a few years from now doing that full time, and just like having a bigger fund and be doing that full time. And to me, like I'm so passionate about it. So I carve out time and I like spend my weekends thinking about this stuff and working with founders, and I love it.
You're worrying me that you're like dictating my future life to me, because I've kind of like on that journey, but a bit further back, I've done a whole bunch of like, we are repeat offenders in the design partner world. I think I speak to 10 founders plus a week. I've angel invested, I've VC invested. Like, I haven't started my own fund yet, but you're worrying me that like this is just going to be where it like snowballs too. We speak the same language on community, I think, as well. Interesting. What do you think? Do you think CISOs know what they're doing? I ask because I'm going to actually build a set of content for, like, I'm building a bigger platform than just this podcast. And part of that, I'm going to build some content out with probably yourself. And Carl Matson has already joined and agreed to do it with me on like teaching people the fundamentals of investing. Because like you, I started writing like $10,000 to $20,000 checks to startups that I just thought were cool and sexy, but I really know what the hell I was doing. Right. And the first time I dropped money into Carl's fund, who was first for me, for Squared Circle, those don't know, I was like, yeah, why not? I trust you. I like you. I think this is great. Let's do it. Right. I didn't really think anything about it. And I think there is such a lack of education out there. CISOs want to be involved in these communities. They want to be involved in VCs. They think they're going to make a fortune. They don't understand the time frames. They don't understand the risk profile. They don't understand like how to actually understand these investments. I feel like there's just such a lack of like knowledge in the industry. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but like I feel like people just don't know what they're doing.
It's why we started Lockstep. And it's exactly why, or the foundry, the community, we don't know what we're like. It's one thing to be like, I love these founders, they're amazing, but it's another to look at the financials and understand whether or not it makes sense to put your money in there to, like, if you're looking to grow your investments. And there's a lot to look at, like the valuation of the company, and like, there's so much to it. And it gets really complex. And when do you exit your position? And there's so many things to it. And I think like part of why we started Foundry was, how do we teach this? How do we open the doors so that folks can ride the upside of the companies they're helping make successful? And what does it mean to be on a cap table versus not? And all of that, there's so much to it, right? I agree with you. Like in the beginning, I had no idea. Like I said, like I just wanted to get, well, cool, I'm an investor now. And it's like, okay, I made some dumb investment decisions, just to get like a few checks in. And then I became smarter over time. And I don't think we need to gatekeep the knowledge. I think we should share it and get more people involved.
It helps as well, right? I found that like I've probably become a nightmare as an employee because I now know how to negotiate my equity in a way that I didn't know before. Like I understand how cap tables work. I now understand percentages versus option numbers. Like I understand vesting, but like I understand these things better than I used to.
For sure.
Which means I now am much more able to negotiate at the point of every kind of transaction or every yearly basis to say, this is what I want from an equity passive and this is why. Thank you so much for your time, for this first part of your time. Thank you for joining. Is there any single final thought you'd like to share with people before I let you go?
Yeah, I say this a lot. I think we find like with our jobs, they're stressful, and we don't make enough time to connect with people. And at the end of the day, I think like every opportunity, folks ask about like, Rinki, how did you land your first board position? We didn't even talk about that, but I've been on 3 boards, and like, how did you land your board position? How did that happen? And like, I can't stress like how important it is. Like I know it's like extra time that you carve out to go and do like community events or networking dinners, and sometimes nothing comes out of it immediately. Like it's so important to build your community and your people and invest time in building network. And I can't stress it enough. The opportunities are not immediate, but like the things that come out of it over time are like some of the most meaningful things in my career. And I just make time for networking and community. I think it's so important.
I would only say amen. I've never applied for a job mainly because I've built my network in a way that I've either had a conversation that was open for me to say, do you want to hire me? Or someone came and said, do you want to work for us? Right. So I think that that is the truest statement and kind of proof of what you said. Thank you very much for your time. We look forward to having you back and talking more about investments and boards and everything else in between. But for today, I appreciate the time you spent with us. So thank you.
I can't wait to be back. Thanks, Jake.
Speak to you soon.